Hello and welcome to Gardening with Ben, the award-winning gardening podcast as voted for by the Grow Your Own magazine and by my followers and by my listeners. I hope that you have all clicked that subscribe button. If you're new to the podcast channel, please do click the subscribe button and then you get notified of all the new podcasts that get launched. And if you're not following me on Facebook, Instagram, YouTube and TikTok, make sure you look for Gardening with Ben and follow me on all my social medias. So sit back, relax, grab a brew and let's enjoy today's gardening podcast with Ben. Hello and welcome back to your episode of Gardening with Ben for a brand new one. I hope you're enjoying your week. And it's nearly the weekend for you, but my weekend is just ending as I'm back on night shift tonight. And I will be not back at the allotment now for probably around 4 days. And obviously we've been having a lot of rain and a lot of wet weather, so it'll be fine. It'll stand still and stay well until the time comes to go back to the plot. I may pop down one of the afternoon, it depends how I feel, because night shifts really do wipe me out. And I need all the rest I can get. Now I'm getting older. But yeah, we'll be back there in about 4 days' time. But what have we been up to these last 4 days? Well, obviously I've been talking in my previous podcasts about all the seeds that need planting and all the jobs that need doing. So yeah, let's recap a bit about what we've been getting up to at the plot at the moment. Well, the main thing that I'm starting to do is I'm starting to get it ready for autumn. And yes, autumn is just around the corner. It will be with us next week, I think. I think it's autumn from next week. So yeah, autumn is fastly approaching, and that will be the time when we start planting all them bulbs. And if you listen to my previous podcast the other day, I'm going absolutely mad with planting bulbs this year. I'm going to make it a spectacular show on my allotment of spring bulbs, and hopefully it will look absolutely stunning. That is the plan. That is the key plan. But we will see. We'll see what it looks like. Hopefully we can make it look stunning this year. We'll give it its best shot anyway. So what I'm starting to do is I'm starting to clear out all the beds where all the bulbs are going to be going, and clearing them all and making them weed free again. But yeah, in one of my beds that I've been sorting out, it had all my autumn raspberries in, and they're finishing now, so they're coming to the end of their fruiting. Why are they called autumn raspberries when usually they're finished by autumn time? I do not know. If anybody knows why they're called autumn raspberries and they're finishing by autumn, please do let me know. But yeah, they're starting to come to the end now, and autumn raspberries, you can cut them back to the base, whereas summer raspberries, you only cut back the canes that had the fruit on. The new growth this year, you leave for next year, because that's what will be fruiting. So I've been trimming back all my autumn raspberry canes and getting it all tidied really. And one of the things that I need to do is get some gardening gloves, because I was nettling myself all over today. And if you're like me, you pick up the nettles by the end and you still get nettled. But yeah, I do need to sort myself out with some gardening gloves now that I'm getting back to doing the hard work and getting all the nitty gritty stuff done and all the weeds out. So we've been clearing all them. We've also been sorting out my sunflowers, because some of my sunflowers are starting to die off now. They're starting to come to the end of the time. And what I'm doing is I'm chopping all the heads off and I'm actually hanging them up in my polytunnel. I made the mistake the other year of laying them down in my shed. Went back one day, every one of them had been eaten by mice, rats or birds or squirrels, something like that. But they'd all been decimated, so I had no seeds back. They were full to busting. They'd had a nice lunch. But yeah, I had no seeds for my sunflowers, and I want to save as many seeds as I can for next year, and hopefully have a beautiful display of sunflowers. I'm going to sow them straight into the ground next year, because that worked well this year. I started some off in pots, and I also started some off in the ground later on, and the ones in the ground did absolutely fantastic. I had them in a nice long line, they all grew brilliantly. And yeah, they were beautiful. So that's what I might do again this year, next year now. But we need to save all the seeds and get them stored away. And I've got a lot of lovely varieties of sunflowers, so hopefully we can have some beautiful displays on my allotment and make it look attractive, because that's what I like to do. I like to have some nice attractive flowers for the photos, for the Instagram, obviously. So we've been sorting out all the sunflowers recently. And what else have we been doing? We've been just generally tidying up, really. I've been sorting out the rest of my strawberry plants. They're all, hopefully, in the ground now or in pots, all the runners. So then we can have lots and lots of strawberries for next year. But I do need to sort it all out, that area, next year. And I need to make room for these extra 200 strawberry plants, because I do want to get as many strawberry plants in the ground as I can. And if I can get a fantastic crop of strawberries next year, I will be well impressed with myself. So that is the key, to have in fantastic strawberry plants next year. But we'll see if we can manage it. Fingers crossed we can, and I've got faith in myself. And if I stick to the method that I've been doing the last few years of planting them through black membrane, then we should be alright, and they should grow really well. But we'll see how we get on with them. But I plan on it being the best it's going to look next year. This is a good time to start planning all them winter jobs. I'm starting to make notes of all the improvements that I do want to make on the plot, because during the summertime you can't do all this work because you're too busy doing the weeding, you're too busy doing the harvesting and stuff like that. So during the autumn, winter months, I do all my maintenance work and all my improvements that I want to do to the plot. Like some of my paths need levelling out for next year. I need to sort some of my beds out, what have rotted, and I repaint them every year, so they'll be repainted again through the winter time to make them look nice for the summer and the springtime. I just like to do any extra work that needs doing. And I need to spend a lot of time on my shed next year. There's quite a lot of work that needs doing in my shed. I've got a really bad problem with bindweed on my allotment. And again, it's like a jungle inside my shed. So we need to work on some kind of way to keep that bindweed down. But we'll think about it. We'll think about how we need to do it. And obviously bindweed, it grows under the black membrane. So if you've got black membrane down, it'll still grow under it, and usually you can pull out roots as long as anything from under the black membrane. So black membrane does not stop bindweed at all. In fact, it makes it grow even further because it's looking for the light to get out. But yeah, we've got a lot to do this winter. Last winter, obviously, I did so much improvements to my plot. I put up new fences, I built up new beds. I generally did absolutely loads last year, and there shouldn't be as much to do this year. But knowing the way that I work on my allotment, there will be a lot of work that I want to do. As I do want to get more perennial plants on the plot for next year. Obviously I can't do that while the spring bulbs and stuff there, but I can plan it all out. I can think about what plants I want to add onto the plot next year. And all I end up doing is just looking in the garden centres and the supermarkets, seeing which plants to reduce, and that's what plants get planted on my plot. But some plants I've been waiting to get, and when they reduce them, I'm like, yes, I've got them. So yeah, we'll have to have a think about it. But I'm keep on trying to make it as low maintenance as possible, my plot, which is the hardest thing to do. Because then I don't have to concentrate on weeding my paths. I don't have to concentrate on keeping them paths tidy and everything. I can just concentrate on the beds themselves and keeping that looking good. So yeah, we've got all that to do. It's a case of planning where all my spring bulbs are going to go, because the other day, as I said, I bought absolutely loads and loads of tulips. I've got so many tulips for next year, it's unbelievable. I do need to start looking though for some hyacinth bulbs at a cheap price, because hyacinths are expensive. And I want some crocuses. I'm tempted to have some snowdrops, but snowdrops do spread. So, and they can be quite leafy. I like the spring bulbs, but I don't like all the leaves on the snowdrops that are left over after the snowdrop dies off. But yeah, hopefully we can have some really nice flowers on the plot for springtime. I like the more unusual varieties, and the tulips that I've gone for, like all the parrot type ones, the feathery looking ones, the weird looking ones. I don't go for the normal sort of flowers. I like to go for the spectacular ones, if you get me. Some of them are quite boring and quite plain, so I like to go for ones that look really nice and impressive, to be honest, because it's a nice thing to look at and it's attractive. Not for me, and for the bees. The bees might think, oh, that's a better looking flower. I'll come and have a look at that one instead. So yeah, I've got all that to do. As in regards to fruit plants, we've got all the fruit plants we need. But over the winter period, we need to look at sorting out all my cooking apple trees and my other trees and round my rhubarb area, because it's getting quite overgrown now and it's a struggle to get down the side of it. So we need to look at how we can work out that area and make it easier to walk down. I might have to really give good hacking on some of my trees this year. I've already given a good hacking on my plum tree, and I know I'm not going to get any plums on it now for a couple of years probably, because of how much I've hacked it back. But it did need it. We're not meant to have fruit trees that tall on the plot, so I try to keep them small and keep them manageable and keep them to a height where I can actually pick the fruit off as well without having to climb a ladder or climb the branches to get to them, because you don't want things too big and out of hand down at an allotment. So yeah, it's going to be a very busy time. So hopefully over the next few days I can start planning, I can start preparing, and I can start thinking about what I want to do over the autumn winter period. And over the coming episodes, we're going to be talking about what we can be planting during autumn and winter, and what I am planning on doing on the plot, and how I'm going to improve it. And yeah, the next few episodes won't be talking about what I'm doing on the allotment, because obviously I'm not going to be at the allotment for the next 4 days. So we'll find little topics to talk about to keep the podcast going, because I know so many people love listening to it, and so many people are listening to it at the moment. So thank you for all those that are streaming my episodes at the moment. It really does mean the world to me. And if you haven't clicked that subscribe or follow button on the podcast platform, please do, and then you get notified when a new podcast comes up. Sometimes it's at night, sometimes it's in the morning, so please do have a listen. And if you've not checked out my second podcast channel, I've got 2 podcast channels altogether, not just this one. I've got one called Garden and Allotment Tips Podcast, where they're just like 5-minute episodes talking about one specific topic in general. And yesterday we talked about about harvesting apples and pears, so have a listen to that podcast as well if you've not listened to it. There is a link in the description, or just search for Garden and Allotment Tips Podcast and it should hopefully come up. So until the next episode, remember, keep smiling, keep gardening, and keep listening to Gardening with Ben. Thank you for listening to today's Gardening with Ben's podcast. I hope that you've enjoyed it. If you haven't subscribed to this channel, please do click that subscribe button, and feel free to share it as well on your Instagram stories. All you have to do if you're listening on Spotify is click the share button, and you can share it straight to your Instagram story for all your followers to listen to, and help build my listeners up as well and get more people listening to it. Feel free to check out all my social medias: Facebook, Instagram, YouTube and TikTok. Yes, I'm on TikTok. Go check it out. Check out my dancing. Gardening with Ben. And check out the link as well in the description of this podcast, where you can check out my gardening t-shirt shop, where I sell funny t-shirts with all different funny logos and designs on. And feel free to support me by purchasing one, and all the money obviously goes back into my allotment, where I can share more gardening tips with you all. So until next time, remember, keep smiling, keep gardening, and keep listening to Gardening with Ben's podcast.